всички. Започваме след минута-две. Даваме кратка.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in a few minutes, just to give everybody a chance to join.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to welcome you back to the final fifth day of our online conference, Clean Energy for People. This event is in English, and of course, we have Bulgarian translation provided. For the Bulgarian speakers, there is an interpretation link button below. You can just click it and switch between the channels. The conference is organized by Za Zemiata, Friends of the Earth Bulgaria, in partnership with E3G and CE Bankwatch Network, and the kind media support of the Bulgarian National Radio. This is our final panel for the conference this year. In the past 4 days, we had talked about the increased ambition of the EU to decarbonize heat. We tackled existing policies, policy gaps, and the upcoming revision of the NSCP, the skill gap, the successes and challenges of the on the ground of implementing actual programs and instruments for renovation and replacement of heating systems, and many more. The topic today is about decarbonization of the district heating in Central and Eastern Europe and Southern and Eastern Europe. We hope we can keep up with the promised time limit today, and we asked our guests for shorter presentations because we would like to leave some space at the end for a discussion between them. Please bear with us if we cross a bit the scheduled end of the event. Right now, just because our first speaker it's a little bit late, we are just going to start with the movie that we scheduled, and I'm just going to leave Gennady to say a couple of words about that.
Well, actually, it will be a surprise for me as well, because I also haven't watched the movie, but it will be a very nice segue to our second and third speaker who would be talking more about these the specific projects. The movie is done by our colleagues from CE Bankwatch network, and it focuses on the geothermal district heating of two district heating networks in cities in Hungary and in Latvia. I'm really curious to see and learn more about it, and then to hear, of course, much more about those projects. And I already see that our first speaker is also online, but we'll first go with the movie, as you said, and then we'll segue into to the panelists. Enjoy.
Just a couple of more words from my side. Yesterday was the official premiere of the Clean Heat movie, and now it's the Bulgarian premiere. So just yesterday we managed to finish the Bulgarian translation of the movie. So I'm just you're going to be the first to watch it. I'm just going to share my screen and we can start.
We are standing next to the drilling rig, which drills the thermal wells here in Hungary. This well will be an injection well. We built 9 geothermal systems in Szeged. All of the systems has one production well and 2 injection wells.
You might say that the geothermal project is expensive, and these activities, reaching out to the people and engaging with the public, just add to the cost, and that's true. But you know, the differences between a fossil fuel project and the geothermal project is that the costs of the geothermal project are paid upfront by whoever implements them. And fossil fuel projects, they are paid by the generation next to come. The district heating system of Szeged used to be based 100% on natural gas. And that's quite common in Central and Eastern Europe to have such systems based on fossil fuels. And switching them to geothermal or to any other renewable energy source is a challenge.
Szegedről érdemes tudni, hogy annak ellenére, hogy nincsen nehézipara, maga a tömegközlekedésen kívül egyébként éppen a távfűtés az, ami a városnak a legnagyobb károsanyag kibocsátója. Ebben az időben mi már igen fontosnak tartottuk, hogy bizony az üvegházhatású gázoknak a kibocsátása és az emisszió és a hatása a környezetszennyezésnek a klímaváltozásra, az mind-mind olyan tényező, amelyet nem lehet elodázni, és muszáj lesz valamilyen a szennyező magas emisszió tartalmú gáz felhasználása helyett valamilyen környezetbarátabb energiát használni.
need experts in it. And if you have experts that are reliable, that you can trust, that's a huge thing. And you need a vision. You need a clear vision. And if you have this clear vision and everybody agrees with it, then you just go along. You have to maintain the trust of everybody. You definitely need to talk to the municipality and agree with them that they do want this project. It was a smooth implementation with us.
It is a special form of the project that it is not the city itself that is subsidized, but a private company to make the drills and to provide the geothermal heat. And the city provided its district heating company that it will buy geothermal energy from the private company. We try to explain it to the citizens that basically the project is about this idea that if we want to reduce pollution during the winter, we have to reduce the emission of the district heating system.
SETÁV tartott ilyen előadásokat, beszélt erről, megpróbálták úgy elmondani, hogy a lakók is megértsék ezt az egész változást, mert azért tudni kell, hogy ez egy nagy megnyugvás, hogy akkor ez segíteni fog nekünk abban, vagy hát aki ilyenben lakik, hogy nem fogja annyira nagy mértékben érinteni ez a hatalmas gázáremelkedés.
I don't know why other cities don't care about it. It directly affects our lives. And it is not just about CO2, it is also particulate matter. And there are very strict regulations in the European Union for PM10, PM2. Therefore, it is, in the end, it is our duty to save as much pollution as possible.
Hát én mindenképpen örülök ennek, hogy ez a geotermikus átállás lesz, mert ismervén a mostani politikai helyzetet, hát jobb, hogyha az ember nem mástól szerzi be a gázt, hanem van a saját földünk, ami adja ezt az energiát. Mindenképpen jó dolog ez, és a jövőnek ez a megoldása, én ezt úgy gondolom. Biztonságérzetet ad, mert nem gondolnám, hogy többe fog kerülni.
I think any mayor should learn about whether geothermal is an option for them at all. And where they can learn from, there are lots of European Union funded projects which have considered mapping Europe in regards with geothermal. There are sources that are publicly available sources where you can learn about whether your area, your city, your town has the potential that is needed for a good geothermal, deep geothermal project. And that's available online. So that's one thing. That's the first thing that any mayor should do. And the second thing is obviously look for funding. Now, European Union funding is available throughout Europe, so I think that's a great source. It covers about 40 to 50% of your total costs. And that's what happened here. In Szeged, actually 40% of the costs were covered by European Union sources and the other 60% by private investment. And that's pretty standard, and that's the way to go.
You don't necessarily have to start with a big project where you have tens of actors. You may start with a smaller scale project. This big project is in fact a number of smaller projects. And then if you start with a smaller pilot, then you will see how to cooperate with other people. And what we see is that for many professionals, it is important that we have these green investments, we have the cycleways, we have the installation programs, the solar panels, and so on. As people care about the global warming issues, they will see that there is a chance of local action, and if their city does locally what is expected from other cities as well, then they will feel more comfortable in their own city.
Mēs siltumu iegūstam no Salaspils uzņēmuma, Salaspils siltums. Un mēs esam viena no lielākajiem Salaspils siltuma patērētājiem, jo, kā redzam, mēs atrodamies oranžērijā, kura ir 4000 kvadrātmetri gan arī platībā, 8 metru augstumā. Tātad kubikmetru ziņā mēs noteikti esam lielākie Salaspils siltuma patērētāji, kurus rezultātā mēs noteikti pietiekoši daudz ietaupām, salīdzinot ar iepriekšējiem gadiem, pirms sadarbības ar Salaspils siltumu.
We were 100% on gas, as you know, but then, actually from my studies in Norway, I had been dreaming about the sun, because I think the sun is an energy which is always there. Then I found out that in Denmark, there is a lot of sun energy, thermal energy they are doing, and then we did the research that in Latvia, there is the same amount of sun radiation. After 4 or 5 years of investigation, we came to the solution that we are going to build that.
Projekta galvenais mērķis bija ieviest pēc iespējas vairāk zaļo enerģijas resursu mūsu ražošanā. Šobrīd mēs esam sasnieguši ļoti augstu līmeni. Aptuveni 90–95% no saražotās enerģijas tiek saražota izmantojot atjaunojamos energoresursus. Tā skaitā aptuveni 20% ir iegūti no saules.
Here in Salaspils Siltums, we are using plenty of technologies. We are burning wood chips, natural gas, and of course using solar energy. Since we have 3 different fuel resources, we have a pretty wide fuel diversification that allows us to produce thermal energy in plenty of scenarios. Implemented accumulation tank is also a huge benefit, which allows us to save even more.
Big accumulation tank, which is a part for the solar thermal. It is 8,000 cubic meters of water. The accumulation tank works as a heat storage because solar thermal and sun is only during the day, but the heat is needed also during the night. And there we can store the energy which was produced during the day.
Bija pietiekami garš ceļš, lai pārliecinātu sabiedrību, lai veiktu šos ieguldījumus savā īpašumā un paaugstinātu šo energoefektivitāti mājokļiem. Tas, protams, bija saistīts gan ar mūsu preses iesaisti, gan sabiedrisko apspriešanu, rīkošanu, gan, protams, izšķirošais bija arī mūsu pašvaldības uzņēmuma Salaspils Siltums iesaiste, tieši kas saistīta ar cilvēku konsultēšanu un izskaidrošanu, vai pareizāk šo cilvēku pavadīšanu šajā pietiekami sarežģītajā gan tehniski, gan finansiālā procesā, bet iegūtais efekts šeit tiešām ir neatsverams.
Projekta īstenošanas gaitā mēs centāmies pēc iespējas vairāk strādāt gan ar iedzīvotāju, gan ar ekspertu viedokļiem, jo tāpēc, ka līdz šim ļoti daudz uzskatīja, ka Latvijā nav saules, bet mūsu pieredze, mūsu konsultācijas ar ekspertiem ārzemēs, kā arī mūsu pilotu projekts uzstādot uz ēkas jumta saules baterijas, pierādīja, ka tā nav taisnība. Latvijā ir saule.
Zinu, ka ražo mums ar tam saules baterijām, šķeldu un laikam vēl arī kādreiz gāzi. Uz šobrīd mēs esam ļoti apmierināti ar pakalpojumu, jo ir ļoti labs kontakts ar siltumu un ar siltuma cilvēkiem, un mēs tiešām esam ļoti apmierināti. Apkures sistēma ir uzticama, piemērota mūsu vajadzībām.
We found information about the solar thermal, and mainly the information for the solar thermal came from Denmark, as it is one of the biggest users of the solar thermal. Actually, I'm quite excited how it works, because in the feasibility study, everybody was like skeptical how it works in Latvia, but now I can see that it really works, and we are producing heat quite a lot, especially in summer during the sunny days.
We used the EU support and the money for all projects. We got around 30%, and 30% were invested by ourselves. We kept the money, and 30% is a bank.
Mans ieteikums citu pilsētu pārstāvjiem ir nebaidīties no pārmaiņām, no ambicioziem mērķiem, kā arī būt pirmajiem visādās jautājumos, jo tu nekad nezini, kas būs rīt un ko tu vari palaist garām.
For other municipalities and heating plants, I have two major recommendations, and the first of them is to diversify their thermal energy production. So in case if there's some bottleneck of supply or production of one of the energy resource, you will always have the plan B, how to cover these bottlenecks. And the number two is to look forward into sustainable energy resources, which uses the nature as its source of energy.
The most important is idea, and we know that it's very good if you can use the local resources. It's very good if you can be energy efficient. And the main idea is every municipality should have their own view, how they want to develop, how do they want to be more efficient. We always have been thinking about that the dependency is not only on gas, but it's only politics. And we have felt several times that the gas is making the politics and makes a lot of pressure on politics and pressure on different things which you have to do.
I always find it very nice when colleagues from the very north of Europe are teaching us how useful solar energy can be. Because very often we hear in Bulgaria, for example, that we cannot guarantee our energy security with solar energy only, even though we have quite a bit more than of solar energy than the north of Europe. Now, I have to apologize that maybe the Bulgarian subtitles were now and then covering the English subtitles, especially in the cases where some of the people in these movies were not talking in English. But we will provide the link and make sure that it gets popular, so you can review and check out once again this nice video produced by our colleagues from Bankwatch. And without further ado, I would like to present and welcome our first speaker. Our first speaker is Andras Takas. I hope that I pronounce your name correctly. He's policy advisor at Euroheat and Power, and we'll be talking today about the overall need of the policies and the need for district heating decarbonization. He has prepared us a little bit extra information focused on the CE and the SE region. And I just want to loop back on to Monday when we had his colleague Aurélie Beauvais presenting us the overall picture of the current status of district heating, decarbonization, and policies and projects. Now, Andras will retaliate on some of those points and will build upon. So warm welcome, Andras. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm sharing my presentation. Please tell me if everything is working well.
It displays well.
Perfect. So thank you for the opportunity to be here and speak. And apologize again for being late. The Brussels public transportation is not always the most reliable.
So I don't know if it's just on my side, but your audio is not working perfectly. Maybe you can come a bit closer to the microphone. Would that be okay? Let's give it a try. Perfect. I think that headset will be just what we need.
It's working now better?
That's way better. Thanks, Andras.
Okay, perfect.
Just fine.
Then I will start. And as you said, I will focus more on the Central European, Central Eastern European countries and the Southern Eastern countries. I collected few statistics from our market intelligence team. We are currently working on our market outlook for 2023, what we will present in 1 month in Torino in our annual congress. And it's not completely finished yet, so I just managed to collect a few of these countries. But you can see that, for example, in Poland, we are serving 16.5 million citizens. It's a huge number. And you can also see that the share of renewables is rather low. So that in all of these countries. So that there is a big challenge ahead. And in the later slides, I will show you what are our opportunities. But let's go through this. In Latvia, we are serving more than half of the population. Similarly to Lithuania, these countries are running mainly on geothermal, on biomass heat. Then we have only 10% of the population covered in Croatia. Similarly to Czech Republic, it's very much fossil fuel based. It's running mostly on coal. In Hungary, there is a big opportunity for geothermal, as we saw also in the video. But in its energy mix, it represents only 8% in the district heating and cooling sector. So there is a lot of place to further develop the systems. And I want to highlight also Romania, where we serve 3.5 million citizens. And in Bucharest, we have the EU's largest district heating network. And it's the second largest in the world, serving 1.2 million citizens. And it's quite a challenge to decarbonize such a huge network. We are always talking about decentralization and splitting these networks to smaller pieces to diversify the energy sources. So that would be an option. And as we heard from 2021, they are working on that as well. So I want to present you all of the different energy sources and show it how local we are. As district heating is always harnessing the locally the renewable district heating systems are always harnessing the locally available energy sources. We can run on renewable electricity with heat pumps, on geothermal, for example, which is there is huge potential in Hungary, literally all over Hungary. I am from southern Slovakia, near to the Hungarian border, and we are also connected to geothermal district heating and cooling network. Then in Romania, Poland, and Croatia, there is also a lot of opportunities to use geothermal. Then we can use biomass or biogases. Solar thermal would be surprising, as we saw in the video, that everyone is always complaining that solar thermal would pay off only in the sunny southern European countries. But we know that Denmark is the leading in the solar thermal heating network, and now we know that Latvia is on the way as well. Then there are waste heat energy sources from subway, hospitals and supermarkets, but also wastewater treatment plants. Recently, a few months ago, the Commission published the Wastewater Treatment Plants Directive, and unfortunately, in the whole directive, they don't ever mention heat. So that's a bit disappointing, but we are working on it. Then there is a huge potential in data centers, but also from industrial processes, for example, heat recovery from nuclear electricity production or hydrogen production. Then industries are representing the largest share of the waste heat opportunities what we have, the steel, aluminium, cement, or paper. But I was reading a few days ago about district heating network in Germany connected to carpet industry, and that represented nearly 10% of their heat source. So as I said, waste heat is the world's most untapped energy source. According to the waste, the heat map study, 2,860 terawatt hour yearly, the potential of the waste heat, which would nearly cover all the heat need, space heating and water heating need of Europe for residential and tertiary sectors. And from this big chunk of the heat demand of Europe, 12% could be captured only from urban waste heat, which doesn't include any industry. And of that, 42% represents the sewage water treatment plants. So there is a huge potential that could alone provide 318 terawatt hour of waste heat, which would heat 30 million European households. So, and we know that sewage water treatment plants are nearly in all, hopefully soon, nearly in all European cities. Then it's interesting to mention that data centers are now seen as one big energy source for district heating and cooling sector, but we know that the technology is always changing, and maybe in the future the data centers will be more efficient and they will not provide such a heat. So as a district heating sector, we need certainty that when we build out infrastructure, then from that source we will receive heat for many years to come. I'm continuing. Yes, so there is a huge progress what we achieved within the Energy Efficiency Directive a few months ago. They adopted these local heating and cooling plans for municipalities, and it will be mandatory for regional and local authorities to develop these plans for every municipality above 45,000 inhabitants. We have very good numbers from Germany, because there these local heating and cooling plans are already made, and their implementation, so the recommendation of the plan is mandatory to implement. However, according to EED, it will be not mandatory to implement the findings of the local heating and cooling plans. However, it's a very good step into the right direction, because local authorities will have to look at the map of the municipality, and they will have to discover what energy sources they have. They know that here they have a industry, here they have a water treatment plant, here they have a geothermal energy source, so they will have to connect them and use it in a way which will be economically and technically feasible. Then what are the benefits? All of these things. So by tapping local energy sources, and as you saw from the statistics, only in Poland we have 16.5 million people served by the infrastructure. There is a huge existing infrastructure. If we are using that infrastructure and renovate it, it's resource efficient. We are not creating new things. We are not investing in new things, but we are renovating what's already there, and we are not creating standard assets. And harnessing local resources will create energy security, which we very much need in the current situation. Then if we don't use renewable electricity because we are using, for example, geothermal or other renewable energy sources, or even renewable CHP, then we are leaving renewable electricity for other sectors, and the electricity peak will not be so high if we are diversifying our networks. Then by diversifying the networks, we are also making it very flexible. So if we have many energy sources and something fails in one of the energy sources, we are not only relying on one source, then it's very much resilient. And of course, if we are using the existing networks, it will lower the cost of the transition of the energy transition. And we also see what happens if we don't move quickly into this direction. We see from the example of Norway that they are heavily electrifying the transport sector. They are building data centers. They are electrifying hydrogen to create renewable hydrogen. They are even electrifying the petroleum sector. So we see that there is huge electrification, and the consumption is projected to increase, while the production is not catching up with this increase. So we will see that from now on, slowly they will become not net exporter of electricity, but they will become to the point when they will have to import electricity from other countries. And we also see from a few weeks ago that in Czech Republic they had to unplug hundreds of solar plants because of the unexpected sunny weather. For such issues, so district heating is a solution. If there is a lot of renewable electricity, then with heat pumps or e-boilers, we can use that excess electricity and store it in heat pumps in thermal storages, as we saw in the video as well, and store it for later. So these are the possibilities what we have with heat pumps, e-boilers. We use that electricity, we store it in thermal storages, or even with high efficiency or renewable cogeneration, we can provide electricity to the grid when it's not enough, or we can provide heat as well. So in our opinion, CHP will be as a flexible energy source of the future, but not like a baseload. And we require for all of these low temperature heating networks, but to have low temperature heating networks, we need low temperature ready buildings. Yes, for that, let's hope that EPPD, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, will have a good solution. But we also need digital solutions. If we know the weather forecast for the coming days, and we know that in 3 days there will be a huge cold, then we can already prepare with thermal storages and other energy sources to be ready for that. So we will not have to tap into fossil fuel reserves like gas or any other solutions. So we need action to take. The resource efficiency, as I said, is one of the biggest points. All of these energy sources in Europe are largely untapped. Then the timing is very important, because in the coming 2 years there will be unprecedented amount of investment coming from member states, but also from the European Union, and we have to tap into this. These financial sources are rather bits and pieces in all legislation. So this is our issue. For example, in France, they have a heat fund, which means that at one place they can they can apply for funds only at this heat fund. But we can see that in other member states they have to apply several times to several places, and this complicates the process very much. Then Europe's population lives mostly in urban areas. 76% of the population is in towns and cities. So we can see that district heating is very much appropriate in large, in densely populated areas. So we have to empower local authorities to build their own plans and networks and take action, have to change the heating sector. And we also see that the district heating sector is not really well known. Public doesn't know about the opportunities and the solutions, but we also lack data and statistics. But as I said, we are working on that, and we are collecting all of the necessary information from member states. And the last slide is about the funding schemes. These are only few funding schemes from the European Union. For example, from ETS, we have the Modernization Fund, which focuses on the 10 lower income EU member states, and by accident, these are only Central Eastern European countries. So you can see the list here. We also have the Just Transition Fund, which aims to reduce regional disparities across member states. But we also have public sector loan facility from the European Investment Bank, which provides funds for industries which are not very much financed commercially. And then, of course, we have the state aid. This is fresh news. Last week, the Commission approved 401 million for the Czech Republic to promote district heating and cooling. So we see a huge progress, and we will work toward the decarbonization of the sector. Thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Andras, and thanks for making the effort at such a short notice to basically construct the picture related to Central and Eastern Europe and Southeast Europe, and also opening the curtain for us with some data that you will make official only a couple of weeks from now. That was really great. Now, today we will be a little bit out of the framework that we had the previous day, so there will be no immediate questions. We will move to our next speaker, and we will go through the next presentations, and only then have sort of a short discussion panel. I hope that we'll have enough time for that. We already have some questions piling up. Svetoslav, would you present our next speaker, please?
Thank you, Gennady. And now we're going to continue with Dr. Tamás Medgis. Just a short introduction from my side. Dr. Tamás attended University Vienna, University in Napoli, and the University of Szeged. And it was at the latter institution that he received his doctoral degree in 2002. As a project manager, he had contributed to more than 200 national and international projects in the field of renewable energy integration, environmental research, and societal aspects. Many of these projects have aimed at geothermal developments in Central European communities, with results ranging from feasibility studies to operating geothermal systems. In 2015, Tamás was hired by the district heating company of Szeged to supervise the company's transition to geothermal energy. And as chief operating officer, his assignment includes managing the implementation of 9 new geothermal systems, and this is quite possibly the most significant district heating system refurbishment in Central Europe. So Tamás, now the floor is yours and you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you for this introduction. I will try to share my screen. Actually, I have 2 screens in front of me, so please do let me know if I share the right one. Do you see my presentation in full mode?
No, we still see you.
Okay, and then
let's make another try.
Okay,
if you have any troubles, I can always share your presentation from my screen, so just let me know.
How about now?
Still not.
Oh, okay. Oh no, sorry. I might have missed something. Okay. How about now?
That works. Now,
okay,
yes, now it's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so what you see here is actually an aerial view of Szeged, but this is not not the area that we are heating, but on the top side of the picture, which is actually the northern side of Szeged. There you can see the housing projects that are on the grid of the district heating company of Szeged. And this is what I'm going to talk about, and I would thank the organizers for inviting me to this event and for having me. I kind of like to spread the word about our project, and I think that this might be a lighthouse project for many in the audience and beyond. This is where Szeged is. Szeged has 160,000 inhabitants. It's a medium-sized city. It's quite a common size in Europe, so to say. And our luck is that we already have a district heating system. It was built in the 80s, and we provide heat and domestic hot water to around 27,000 apartments. So it's quite a large system, actually. But again, it's a common size system, and the reason I'm emphasizing this is because whatever we do here, you should be able to do elsewhere. So we provide heat to 27,000 apartments and around 400 non-residential end users. Szeged has no real heavy industry to speak of. This is mainly a university town. We do have agricultural industry and food industry and also IT, but no heavy industry. So up until the last years, actually, the district heating company was the single largest CO2 emitter of the city, and we wanted to change that. So what we decided to do is to basically follow the footsteps of many cities around Szeged and switch the district heating system to geothermal. This is the layout of our system. What you see is that we have actually 23 heating circuits, and this is a puzzle, so to say. It's not a joint system, and this is a good thing when it comes to geothermal, because we have 23 heating plants. And we can introduce geothermal to many of these heating plants. It's not just one that serves the entire system. There are many points where we can introduce geothermal. We have around 800,000 gigajoules per year total energy output, and it's around a 200 megawatt installed capacity. That's for gas. That's the gas numbers. What you can see on the picture in the pictures is the old gas boilers, and one new actually too, the smaller one. And this is what the system was based until like the last year. This is the southeastern part of Hungary. It's the southern Great Plain region. It's really a flat, I would even dare to say it's a dull area of the country, not much going on other than Szeged, which is really a lively university town. All the other ones are interesting, signs with these red dots, because they already have geothermal. Actually, Szentes, that's probably the largest agricultural producer using geothermal in Europe. Hódmezővásárhely, Balázs, Kiscsák, these cities all have spas, and they use geothermal for energy purposes. Actually, there are spas in many cities and many towns in this area. These are the towns in the South Great Plain region which use geothermal for energy purposes. It's actually 9 municipalities in a 50 kilometers radius around Szeged. Now, what we did actually is that we tried to persuade the mayor and the municipality of Szeged to do something with their district heating for many years now. We've been knocking on the doors for, I don't know, for like more than 10 years, and nothing happens really. But then, seeing the good example of many cities, the thinking started to change. Like I said, the good thing with Szeged is it has a good potential, and the other thing is it already has a district heating system, and the third thing is that it has a good, reasonable size but large heating demand, heat market, so to say. Also, like I said, we have a university, we have gray matter, we have people who have already worked in geothermal businesses. So this is the things that came together, and that's when we could start working. What we do is we build 9 systems, basically 9 geothermal systems. All are based on a triplet model. That means 1 production well, 1 extraction well, and 2 injection wells. So it's 3 wells for each system. That's altogether 9 production wells and 18 injection wells. That's quite a big project. Actually, to my knowledge, this is the largest geothermal district heating overhaul in Europe right now. There are bigger geothermal district heating systems in Europe, especially in Iceland, also in Turkey and other places, and there will be bigger projects. But right now, switching a gas-based district heating system to geothermal, I think, as far my understanding is that this is the largest project of this kind. We are drilling to 2,000 meter depths. The production wells are screened around 2,000 meters. This is an Upper Pannonian Sandstone Reservoir. It's a very good water-bearing reservoir, and we get around 90 degrees water at 70 cubic meters per hour from these wells, and we use the heat content of these wells. Now, as you can see on the map, this is a densely populated area, and it wasn't very easy to pinpoint the location for these wells. Actually, sometimes the drillings are really close to the houses where people live, and I will talk about these issues later. We transport the water through undersurface pre-insulated pipelines to the nearest heating plants. So it is important to understand that the geothermal water does not enter the apartments, it doesn't enter the buildings. We just transport the water to the nearest heating plant, and there, with heat exchangers, we use its energy content. This is the location of the heat exchange, actually the heating plants. Like I said, we built 9 projects, so that means 9 production wells. But then the water is transported to the nearest heating plant, but the heating plants are connected. So altogether, we serve 16 of our 23 heating circuits with geothermal. It's also, I like to say that when we started this, our main goal was to do a geothermal project, but the reason for us to do this was environmental. We wanted to do an environmental project. We wanted to make the air of Szeged cleaner. And due to the circumstances that are known to everyone, the energy crisis, this has in the meantime, this has become a security of supply project. Also, it's still an environmentally sound project, but now it is first and foremost a security of supply project. This is not a good thing, obviously, but it is what it is. This is the situation that we need to deal with, and it's important that in this city, heating, whatever happens. This is the injection sites. The blue ones are, like I said, there are 18 injection wells. The reason for this is that the Pannonian sandstone reservoir, it's really easy to get water out of. It's not that easy to get it back to inject. So we expect to have some technical issues. Like I showed you on the map, there are many operating systems in the area, and we do work closely with them as a university research team. We know their problems, we know their issues, and we are aware that there are issues with re-injection into sandstone reservoir. That's why we built 2 injection wells for every production well to make the operation safe. If one of the injection well needs to be maintained or shut down for some period of time, we take injection very seriously. We believe that this is what makes the geothermal energy use renewable. It's a green energy source. It's a very huge energy source, but it's not inexhaustible. Okay, we could just dump this water into the river Tisza or whatever, and we could say that it's cheaper, which it is, but it's not safer. This water belongs to the subsurface, and that's where we put it back. This maintains reservoir pressure, and also it enables the water to be reheated by the Earth's heat and then be used again. So it's really a cycle, and we do not want to steal this water. We do want to put it back where it belongs. These are the main numbers that we have. Actually, we aim at a 60% reduction in emissions, and this is probably the number that's closest to reality. We are not going to eliminate gas use altogether. We are not going to be able to do that in very cold weathers, which are far in between and really rare occasions. But in very cold weather, we still need gas, and in peak hours too. When everybody is at home and using domestic hot water and the heating is on, we still need gas. We think that we'll be able to cut emissions and gas use by 60%, and that's our goal right now. This is a 70 million euro project. it is a lot, but then again, it isn't really. If you think about it, I mean, it's switching the heating of an entire system of half of the city basically to geothermal. We really believe that like 70 million euro is a lot of money, but again, it's not that much money. 40% of it comes from European Union sources, from the European Development Fund, and 60% is financed by private investors. I will talk about this a bit later. What I am showing here right now is that this project generates quite a lot of international interest. We have partners, I will show them later, from international communities, municipalities, R&D institutions who are interested in what's going on in Hungary. Our two main sponsors, so to say, right now are Horizon. Three main sponsors are Horizon 2020, the Norway Fund, and the European Regional Development Fund. And these are the layout of the individual systems. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail. I'm just going to show you a few. And this is one that's particularly interesting for a reason. Actually, what you can see in the picture is that the drilling is really close to the houses, and that's a problem. But we deal with it, and I will tell you later how. What I'm showing here is that our system is based on a 90/70 water temperatures. Okay, so the main is 90 and the return is 70. And for these reasons, we actually only use the top heat content of the water. Okay, so this is a 90 degrees water, and we use the top heat content, but we are not using anything below like 60 or especially 50. Actually, we are re-injecting at 45. It depends on the outside temperature, but we re-inject the water at around 50 degrees centigrade. And that's a shame, really, because there's huge energy content in that water, but we just can't do anything with it because our system is based on 90/70. Now, the question, I mean, it's obvious a question whether we could use it to heat other homes and other houses, and we probably could, but that would require additional investment. That those are not on the district heating grid. Okay, they are privately owned and privately heated. So that's something that's for the future. This is the future. But right now we concentrate on our existing system. Nevertheless, if a new development comes to Szeged, and they talk to us, we are absolutely happy to provide them with our wastewater. Okay, so like our 50 degrees water is basically free. We do nothing with it. We just re-inject with it. And here in the uptown area of Szeged, a new municipal swimming pool was built just 2 years ago, and the handball stadium. Handball is big in Szeged. It's a really Szeged handball team is really good on a European level. And we have where this Tesco sign is. We have a new handball stadium and a new swimming pool, and both are connected to this system. And they receive free energy because the wells would operate anyways. The water runs in these pipelines anyways, and what they do, they just tap our wastewater. So that's the way to go for Szeged. The Rókus area, it's one of our bigger heating circuits. You can see that there are 3,000 apartments on it and 33 non-residential end users. And this was interesting because what you see in the picture actually is one of our heating plants. But what we did, we turned the facade of this building into a giant outdoor movie screen. Okay, we just painted a big TV screen on the building, and we teamed up with the local movie theater, and we rented their equipment. And throughout every Saturday and Sunday nights in the summer, last summer actually, we showed blockbuster movies to the people of Szeged. And it was really a good way to reach out to them, to engage with them, because what we did, we showed these blockbuster movies, but before every movie, we had a short film, like
like a 5-10 minute video, just like the Bankwatch video that you just saw, like one of those videos, and we just showed them to the people, to engage with them, to talk to them about geothermal and renewable energies. And this was a sort of an out of the box approach, but I think it was hugely successful. There were 400 people to watch the movies, and it was much more successful than, you know, setting up another Facebook account or whatever and reach 10 to 15 people. Like I said, we literally reached thousands of people this way. Every week and night there were 300, 400 people watching these movies, and it was a wonderful experience to engage with the people this way. And the final one, like I said, there are 9 of these. I'm only showing you these 3. The final one is the city center. Here we have actually quite a few users, not too many, like 300 private users. But there is a new apartment complex being built with 600 apartments. It's a very modern building. Actually, if you look it up, the Cedrus apartment complex, it looks quite good. It looks quite impressive, and they too joined the district heating grid. Okay, so instead of 300, now we heat 900 apartments. And again, the idea is the same. They are connected to the return grid, the one that goes to the injection well. They are built with floor heating, so they require lower energy than our standard 90/70 users. So they basically use waste heat, and that's again that's a beautiful way of enhancing our operation and connecting new users to our grid. Cooperation with us. We are very happy to cooperate. We are open to show our system to everybody, to anybody basically. You just reach out to us and we'll be happy to offer you a tour. And like I said, we are involved in several European Union projects. And these are our partners. We have Spanish, Scottish, Icelandic, and Polish, and partners from all around Europe. And we are involved in new projects too, still in the application phase. But yeah, we are offering basically what Szeged can offer you is a demonstration site. I think and we are very good in it. I mean, we have this robust project, and whatever you want to study here or test, we can offer you a solution for it. And probably my last slide is that we still do outreach activities and we still try to educate people, so to say. I think it would be a missed opportunity not to. I mean, you look at the map. We are literally dotted with geothermal wells. These drillings are still ongoing. 3 systems, actually 6 systems are ready, and 3 are in the building right now. So the drilling rigs are working, and we offer tours to even students, school children, but adults too. Where they can visit the rig, they can visit our heating plants and discuss them, even future opportunities in the energy sector, and also just to show them how their building is being heated, how their homes are heated. So I think Szeged is a really nice opportunity for everybody to see how a district heating system can be switched to geothermal, and also a good lighthouse project, so to say. This is just on a side note. This is a city in opposition in Hungary, and if a city in opposition can do it, then I like to say that then probably anybody can do it. Obviously, you need geothermal potential. You need a lot of things. But those things are you can get if you have geothermal potential, if you have heat market, and it's just a matter of will and funding. But yeah, if we could do this, I think you can too. So this is my last slide with this thank you note and the picture of our heating plants. which have been with the help of local graffiti artists actually turned this to this environmentally conscious buildings. They were monstrosities, really. They are not very nice buildings, but with these motifs, they became the favorites of children, and yeah, school children go to them, and yeah, we got good feedbacks. Thank you very much.
Truly inspiring, Tamas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope we'll still have time for discussions, Svetlo, maybe directly to our next speaker.
Yes, I think that we can directly start with Robert Kakis. Sorry, Robert, that we make you wait such a long time. I hope that you are here. And just a very brief introduction. Robert is a process quality engineer at the Salaspils Systems for 4 years already, and his main responsibilities in the company are mostly related to energy efficiency and emission monitoring and optimization, but also research of new technologies and innovations. So Robert, now you can share your screen and walk us through your presentation, and then we can have a joint Q&A session, joint discussion between three of you, if the time allows.
So yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So yes, my name is Robert Spetis, and I'm working here as a process quality engineer, and indeed, yeah, my main job responsibilities are related to energy efficiency, emission monitoring, and research of new technologies, new innovations, and figuring out the ways how we can implement them in our heating plant. And so, about my company, Salaspils Systems, we are district heating company in Salaspils city. In the Salaspils city, there are living approximately 18,000 people, of which 80% are connected to district heating. And yeah, our main responsibilities is thermal energy production, transportation, and distribution. The total length of our heat networks are almost 21 kilometers, and each year we are producing approximately 60,000 megawatt hours of thermal energy, and total installed heat capacity is 35.18 megawatts, of which 23 are natural gas. But as you will see further in the presentation, the use of these natural gas boilers are reducing each year more and more. And I have to admit that in the last decade was really busy for us. And in 2011, the share of the renewable energy resources was 0%. And as you can see, we had pretty much a space for improvement. And the next year, in 2012, we installed our first renewable energy source, which is Vuči boiler house of the power of 7 megawatts. And this was the beginning of our path towards the renewable energy. 3 years later, we additionally built the flue gas condenser to produce even more renewable energy, and at the same time not using any additional fuel. The same wood chips were burnt, and only we get the heat from the flue gases. And if after the boiler the temperature of the flue gas is around 150 degrees Celsius, then after the condenser is already 40 to 50 degrees. So yeah. And as you already heard in the movie, the head of our company was inspired by the Denmark's example of using the solar energy. And since the weather here in Latvia and in Denmark are pretty similar, we thought that we also should have been able to produce thermal energy from the solar collectors, as well as Danish people are doing it. But to make it sure that it indeed is this way, we started with a 25 kilowatt solar PV panel station on the top of our administration rooftop. And the results exceeded our expectations, and we produced more energy than we expected. And so in 2019, we made a huge step and built a large-scale solar collector field. In total, there are 1,720 solar collectors with an active area of 21,500 square meters. And it's about three large football fields. And this project with solar collectors in this project was also built another 3 megawatt wood chip boiler house and accumulation tank with total volume of 8,000 square meters. And just to compare, the total volume of our heating networks is 800. So it's the 10 our heating networks can go in this accumulation tank. But in the last slide, there was another PV panel station, and it was implemented just 2 years ago. And what's the purpose of it? The solar collectors are quite unique electricity. They have a quite unique electricity demand, and they need electricity only when the sun is shining. And the PV panels at the same time is quite unique electricity producers. They produce electricity also only when the sun is shining. And this additional PV station of the power of 100 kilowatts can totally well, say another way, they produce all the electricity that the solar collector field are consuming. So at this moment, the production with the solar collectors are as green as it's possible. And so to summarize our installed renewable technologies, we have at the moment 2 wood chip boiler houses, and they are equipped with the flue gas condensers and solar collector field. And this is the simplified scheme of our production. And as I already mentioned in the movie, we have quite a lot of different scenarios. How can we produce the thermal energy and transport it to the city? We can use the solar collectors in combination with the wood chips. We can use solar collectors in combination with...
Robert, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that what we see on the screen is not the full screen mode, and it doesn't move between the slides. Can you check it up? Because you're probably through the slides already.
We'll share once more.
No, I think we are on the right spot. Thank you.
Okay, and what was the last slide that you saw?
Well, actually, it was stuck in the very beginning, so we did miss quite a bit of it. But please go ahead from where you are, and then we'll share the presentation, hopefully, without creating too much confusion. Still, you can return to some of the slides if you believe that some graphs are particularly super important to be shown right away.
Okay. So, do you see the graphs at the moment?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And okay, the main information that you are interested in, how does the solar collector field and the solar energy the share of solar looks like through the year. So the first year the solar collectors were used was 2019, and it started its work only in September. So from the annual consumption, only 2% was produced using solar energy. But already in 2020, almost 1/5 part of the annual consumption was used using solar energy. And what's interesting about the solar, we are really demanding of the weather. So one year can be really shiny and we can produce 11,000 megawatt hours. The next year it may be a bit more cloudier and only 10,500 megawatt hours, but we can be sure that at least 10,000 megawatt hours we can produce each year. And the 2022 was, to be honest, was I think the most shiniest year since this project was launched. And since March till August, we managed to produce a significant amount of thermal energy using solar collectors. And yeah, what's another big thing that we have to look on is the reduction of the natural gas share from almost 30% in 2019 to 5% the last year. And yeah, we are really happy about it. We have managed to reduce significantly also the fossil CO2 emissions, and yeah, we have improved our production quite a lot, but we have also improved and worked with our networks and consumers. 90% of our heating network is renovated and changed to industrially insulated heat pipes. We have implemented the remote data reading system, and every day and every hour, every minute, I can say we are monitoring our supply and return temperatures, so we don't produce more heat than it's needed and don't use any fuel that cannot be burned and used. And it allowed us to reduce our relative heat losses on the networks, and from 22 to less than 10%. So yeah, that's also really great achievement. And speaking of our future plans, at the moment we are looking forward of integration of the heat pumps. And why do we need them? There can be days in the summer where I don't know, 5 days in a row there are no sun shining, and at this moment our accumulation tank can be empty of the thermal energy, and we need some additional heat source to provide the district heating to the city. And in 2019 until 2021, we used these peaks and these cloudy days covering with natural gas, but natural gas prices raised really high. So the last year we tried to do it with the wood chips, and we came to the conclusion that it's not so good for our equipment and our boilers. So the heat pumps would be just a great technology which to implement, and also it would give us opportunity to start our boilers later in the autumn and shut them down earlier in the spring, and use the nature as the source of the energy even more. And I'd like to take this opportunity and talk about the renewable and sustainable energy. So there's quite a big difference. The renewable energy you can use, and for example, the wood, you can cut it down, make wood chips, and then plant the seed, and the wood will grow again, and you can use it again. But the sustainable, and that is a really good renewable energy example. At the same time, the sustainable energy, it is already here, and you don't have to do anything with it. It's just here, and you just need equipment to take it. It's like a sun is shining, and the energy is already coming to the earth. You just need the technology to take it. Also, the same story with the wind turbines, and also the same story with ground heat and air heat, which the ambient air I'm speaking of, and the air to water heat pumps is the ones that we are looking forward to implement, exactly to cover these cloudy summer days and the beginning of the autumn and the end of the spring. That's the most realistic project that we will implement in, I think, following 2 years at least. And also the heat pumps needs an electricity, so we are looking forward to wind turbines. And why not additional PV panel station? Because if the sun isn't shining and we can produce heat using solar collectors, so the PV panels also will not be producing electricity. So it's not an option for the heat pump in our case. And increase the possibilities of the heat accumulation. Maybe that can be another way how to cover these cloudy days. Attraction of new clients, and we have another smaller village near the Salaspils where at the moment we are using only natural gas to provide the thermal energy. So we are looking forward how to change that. And this village is called Salkaln, so it's also mentioned here. And also we are a big part of the multi-apartment building project in the Salaspils. We are helping with the with the part where the documents have to be made, and then we are helping our clients to renovate their homes and to lower their heat demand. So that's it from me.
Thanks, Robert. That was super inspiring. And especially this combination of various sources that you're using. What we saw on the graph that you showed is that basically in the summer season, you cover for nearly 2 months your entire energy needs with the solar thermal. So it was designed specifically this way, basically to have cover
the location and then the direction how the solar collectors are placed is the most beneficial in the production in the May. So we know that in summer there will be a sun, and if the angle is not so beneficial, it's not such a big deal because the sun will be and everything will be okay. But especially in the May, and I think 2 years ago we managed to cover the whole demand for the thermal energy from the end of the May till the middle of the August, only using solar collectors. So yeah, but there have been years where there are just a few days, 1, 2, or 3, when we have to use something else. But mainly we can say that 98% of the summer's demand is covered using solar.
Right. Well, I would like to welcome back and ask Tamas and Andras also to to join back in. We have the luxury of roughly 15 minutes. It's really not sufficient for a proper debate, but I'd still love to pose a few questions and provoke you to basically think along together with us on some of the future potential paths and sharing a little bit more about your experience. Question to everyone, what do you think has changed in the potential role of gas at this point in time? I think that there's still a number of projects and plans that are not properly reconsidered around Europe, but what is your say towards everyone who is still trying to go business as usual into what were the plans, say, 1.5, 2 years ago, before the war crisis and before the price crisis in the energy sector?
I think what I usually think about it is that higher energy prices are bad, but they also create an opportunity, and the private investment part in our case, in the Szeged case, like I said, that was around 60%. They calculated with a return on investment of probably 12 years or similar, and now it's down to 4. And that's like I said, it's obvious it's not an ideal case for Europe and for millions of people, but as for the transition to renewables is concerned, this is an opportunity, and an opportunity that we should seize, and it really creates it may create momentum, and for those who think it's business as usual, they should probably reconsider, because they may be able to maintain for their business scenarios for a few more years, but not after that. And this is the moment that they should seize and start thinking about. Actually, we have municipalities every week visiting us, and they are eager to learn about geothermal. And the first thing we need to say to them is that it's not going overnight. So if we start today, then they might have geothermal in 2 years, but that's still better than ever. So I think this is the moment that they should think about switching to renewables.
I can add the perspective of the. I'm working as a policy advisor.
Andrew, I think we'll still need your headset to be back.
It's better this way?
Much better. Thank you.
Sorry for it. So I can give you the perspective of policy. I'm working on policy. So recently, the trial of negotiations agreed on the Energy Efficiency Directive (EED), and in few months it will be published in the European Journal, which means that after that, member states will have 2 years to implement it. Following that, all new energy sources of district heating networks, so if they are going to expand existing networks or when they are building new energy district heating networks, then until 2030, the only fossil fuel allowed in these new networks will be fossil gas. But after 2030, no fossil will be allowed in any of these newly built networks. So I think, this was not proposed by the European Commission when they published the proposal, 1.5 years ago, before the war started, and we had this big heating crisis. But now we can see that both the Parliament and the Council agreed on this, because they see it's necessary to not rely on gas neither anymore after 2030. Our members had some issues that maybe gas could be used only as a backup and for peak hours. But they do realize that it could be replaced by biogases and other renewable sources. So it's a challenge, because if we think it's less than 7 years and 2030 is here, but in our opinion, this is I can answer your question in this way.
Thank you. Robert, please.
Well, I also can agree that, in my opinion, the high energy prices is a trampoline for the development, and I think that we should use this trampoline to move away from the fossil fuels, from the fossil energy, and think sustainably.
And a question mainly to Robert and Tamas, but I think that Andres could also chip in with some of the bird eye view that and experience that they have in Euroheat and Power. How did you manage to guarantee the quality implementation of your process? You know, we were talking a lot about problems with lack of skills at any level at this point. We need these projects that you have done. You know, you've piloted fantastic projects, but we need to really scale it up. So how did you manage to guarantee? What is your advice when it comes to public procurement, designing all the considerations that you've done, so that other municipalities would avoid any potential mistakes?
In our case, I think the main the key issue was a very close cooperation with the municipality, and once that was given, I think when we had the green light, then from then on it was really not very risky in technical terms, but that is due to the fact that we have been doing this for 15 years. And I think municipalities should not start with a robust project. They should concentrate on, say, their own buildings. Think about what they can save on switching the municipality itself, the town hall, the school, I don't know, whatever they have, and start think small, and then you extrapolate that once you have the experience with a smaller project. It sounds stupid, but it's really not rocket science. Basically, I mean, at least getting water out from beneath your feet, it requires. It's really a no-brainer compared to importing gas and heating cold water with it. You just dig down. It's not that complicated. True, there are obstacles and step backs. There are geothermal experts available in Europe, and there are good projects that you can study. And like I said, I'm just repeating myself. You are very welcome to come to Szeged or contact us, and we'll be happy to offer you advice.
Do you already have anything prepared, like blueprints, stuff that can be actually shared as files and as
actually we've been involved in, like I said, in Horizon 2020 projects. One of them is called Crowd Thermal, which was designed to empower the European public to participate in funding geothermal projects. And actually, I'm not saying I'm surprised, but it is true that some of the outcomes of these projects are really useful, and they are available online. And you, for example, you can quite easily check nowadays whether your area, your town or city has geothermal potential. It's not a secret anymore. It's true. You will still need hydrogeologists and experts on the ground, but as a first look, you can check online whether you have geothermal potential. So and that's a huge step. And there are other things like this that are becoming available. So if you just spend some time and try looking for actual projects and what they have produced, just like this short film that we showed, then that can give you an idea whether this is for you or not.
In our case, there wasn't much experience with the solar thermal and large-scale solar thermal fields in Latvia and in Baltics in general. So our nearest neighbors were the Danish specialists. So we made a rule that we want our local service company to work in cooperation with this Danish experienced company. And so they built the solar collector field all together. So the Danish company gave the knowledge to our local service, and it's also like beneficial for all Latvian district heating companies which are looking forward our example. They will have an advisor in Latvia here, and I think that it's one of the good examples.
Andras, I wanted to get back to something you mentioned very briefly at your presentation. It was this new 400 million scheme approved for decarbonization of the Czech district heating networks. Do you know any details about it already? Is it mostly for energy efficiency and renewable energy? Do they allow a little bit of fossil gas in there? I mean, any controversies, or we should be totally happy about it and it's exactly what is needed to see really progressive decarbonization?
That's a very good question if gas is allowed, but I have it open. I can send you I can share in the chat the press release from the Commission, and it describes the whole situation. To be honest, I didn't go in detail, but it says that to promote green district heating. So I believe that this money will only target renewable energy and waste heat. Yes, it says promoting renewable and waste heat. Indeed.
Then let's celebrate, but still cautiously. We'll read through everything that has been released by the Commission. Again, a question to all of you. It's related to the situation of much larger district heating networks that need to go through an overhaul towards renewable energy. I think Andras gave the example of the huge Bucharest, very centralized network. Sofia, for example, district heating network in Bulgaria is also huge. It has 2 large plants in operation that are working, the gas-fired ones, and a few smaller auxiliary ones. So in the case of Szeged, it sounded pretty straightforward that you can do it step by step, plant by plant, because you said you have those 23. But what would be, have you thought what would be the way forward for gradual or quick overhaul of such a huge network? If it's too technical, we can always skip that.
Just to pinpoint back to the presentation, I think the mapping of the local heating and cooling plants will provide solution for this particular because if the city maps that in which part of the city or the municipality what are the energy sources, then they can split the district heating, this large centralized district heating, into smaller parts according to the available energy sources, and that's the way in that will be a solution.
And in conclusion of this very short session, your main takes of how do we scale up this effort from now on? Because the audience here is very mixed. Usually we get this event gets reviewed by people from the local governments, local energy experts. We have even consumers, cautious consumers, and we have NGO activists and sometimes even officials and politicians that are following this conference. So considering this broad audience, what is your advice? How can we scale it up, apart from figuring out the blueprints and all those nice projects that already have been implemented that can maybe decrease the 15-year effort to 5. What else we need?
I think my idea would be that obviously the energy sectors are national. They are also European scale, but and they do require a central vision and funding too. But at the same time, they are local. And because the energy is used locally, especially in the case of direct use of geothermal, that's not transferable to anywhere else. And I think giving the power to the municipalities in deciding what they want to do, what they really need to do, what's best for them is a key. There is a temptation, so to say, to arrange all this on a national level, but it just doesn't really work that way. These are living municipalities that have buildings, that have needs, that have experience, or they don't, and they need to resource it, but my feeling about it is that these are manageable projects for a municipality. And they should be owned by the municipality, because the sense of ownership is what gives these projects long life. Because it's not like you just go there and you drill and it's done forever. It's not. These wells need to be maintained. The temperature needs need to be monitored, and there is scaling. There is going to be scaling in the pipelines, and then you will have to know who to call and what to do with it. So and you're not going to be able to manage it from the top. I think these should be. You should have a central vision, but you should have local acceptance and local implementation.
From my side, I would like to say that the development path for each company is different, and as Thomas already mentioned, you have to look locally what's the best and what's maybe the most available energy source in your area. For example, I won't be saying that everyone in Europe should implement the solar collectors. So for someone, I don't know, maybe you are located near the sea line and there's a big amount of the wind, and you can electrify your heating plant and use the heat pumps or use electrical boilers. And maybe for someone, the best option is this ground heat pumps or geothermal heat pumps. And yes, my main conclusion to summarize is look locally what's the best for you, and maybe the best example in the Europe won't fit for you, but something other will fit the best for you. That's my advice.
Yes, my quick takeaway would be that it's very important to inform the public about the opportunities what they have, and how district heating and cooling could provide heat for them in what sustainable way. For this, hopefully the EPPD and energy certificates and energy passports will give a solution. And in that way, if the public knows that's available in their cities, there is already a district heating network, and that network could be extended. They could express their interest jointly with the whole street, for example, and that could lead to the change. But also municipalities has to, as Tamás and Robert mentioned, have to be empowered to do such actions, and plan the heat, because that's the big changer.
Thank you very much for this. I think that it's at the point that we're standing, it still looks very scary, the short time horizon that we have when we need to implement all this decarbonization. So basically the urgency of the actions that we need to take and the scale of it, the sheer scale of it, it's a bit scary, but I'm sure that we'll be able to gear up and figure out the ways to really scale that exponentially. Moving to our last speaker today, Felix Kriedman from the Riscoup project. He's project manager at Riscoup. And his very broad background has led him to now to work with citizens-led renovations, CLR, and the community heating and cooling. Felix, is everything okay technically? Can you try the microphone?
Yes, can you hear me?
Very, very well, yes.
Perfect.
And
We're also, yes,
also your
on.
colleagues, Chris. But I'm
Hello,
afraid
everyone.
Chris hasn't been in my script now, and very awkward. You have to present yourself, Chris, and then go straight into the presentation and the share screen mode.
No worries. Yeah, I'm here mostly to support my colleague Felix, who is the man of the hour of this presentation. I am just gonna jump in at the end of his presentation to talk a bit about public financing opportunities and the research we're doing at Riscoup EU. Thanks.
Fantastic, guys. Please jump into the presentation.
Well, first of all, while I try to look for the presentation, thank you for having us. Indeed, as you will see, we have been working on a project on heating and cooling that is owned by the community, and my colleague Chris has been very important in making sure that we have enough information about the financing that is available. So, with that in mind, can you see my screen?
Yes, though you're still not in full presentation mode.
Right. Better now?
Absolutely. Now.
Perfect. Yeah. Very well. So I hope to be able to give a bit of an idea of this, well, frankly, exciting new part of heating and cooling, which goes along the lines of energy communities. So I hope that in the next 10 minutes, I can explain what energy communities are and how do they interact within heating and cooling. Very well. So what we will see here is what really community heating and cooling is, what the reasons are from the energy cooperatives or energy communities that are doing it. Why have they done it? And then we will look into, well, we'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek, if you will, into the results from some interviews that we have carried out with multiple stakeholders on this, many of whom are indeed energy communities working on heating and cooling. We hope that this will be finished, these guidelines, in June, but we already had some data, and we thought, and Svetoslav, of course, as well, thought that it might be interesting for all of you to know. So please don't hesitate to also ask any questions that you might have. Very well. So what is community heating and cooling? Well, essentially, it's difficult because there's no unified definition as of today. That being said, we do have definitions for energy communities themselves. So if we extrapolate this to heating and cooling, then essentially it is any thermal energy system that is owned, operated, or managed by the participants of the energy community. And this, of course, one of the key pillars of any energy community that needs to be there. Otherwise, you cannot call it an energy community, right? Or citizens. And I believe that somebody was mentioning that before during the call, right? The importance of putting the ownership of these systems back into the hands of citizens, because this is at the end, and as we have seen in this study as well, precisely this ownership and this governance is what makes these systems last many, many decades. And also this is good for financing, as Chris will explain later, because it does give you a clear view of where you are going. That being said, the energy communities or the community heating and cooling systems that are the most successful ones are indeed the ones that have citizens, but that also have as members of the community, the municipality or multiple municipalities and SMEs. Why is this the case? Well, as you can imagine, citizens, especially when they start wanting to do a project on heating and cooling, this is a confusing process, right? There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of capacity that is needed. So in this sense, the municipality, for instance, in many cases, has helped in this process. And they do this by becoming part of the energy community, and therefore they have a vote as well within that energy community. So this then makes it easier for the citizens to do the administration, so to say. The municipality can also, for instance, give the citizens a place where they can meet in order to work towards this heating and cooling system. And of course, SMEs are also an important part of it, because they create employment at the end of the day, right? These energy communities, through these SMEs, there are many cases where they bring back people from urban areas. They bring them back, and they create life a little bit again in these areas that often have seen people leaving towards cities for many, many years. There are also cases, of course, many of community heating and cooling systems in cities. So it is not exclusively only for rural areas. But this is to say that in any case, if you can involve a municipality and an SME in your energy community, then it is always a good idea, right? As long as, of course, like we said, we make sure that the governance of it remains democratic, right? And in the hands of citizens. So why do this in the first place, right? So why go out of your way to create an energy community? Well, there's multiple reasons that we have heard during the interviews, and I think that we can summarize them essentially into three, which is the cost, because it is cheaper at the end, especially nowadays when every time that I pay my heating, there's a little tear that falls from there's a little tear because I am heating my house with fossil fuels, or my apartment with fossil fuels. So of course, renewable community heating and cooling is much cheaper, much cheaper, of course. So it is always one of the cheapest options out there in the market. Another main reason is the fact that energy communities need to have a purpose that is beyond profit. So this means environmental or, for instance, social purpose. So the fact that the money that comes into the energy community has to be reinvested, this often means that many of these communities make energy renovations of the kindergartens, of the public buildings, or they simply reinvest this money into new projects of renewable energy. So at the end of the day, indeed, the money is reinvested into the local community. And what is not to love about that, of course? The second reason is the financial return, which in many cases is quite above market value. So the dividends, for instance, in Belgium for energy communities working on heating are capped at 6%. So many energy communities do offer indeed 6% as a return on dividends every year. So like I said, beyond the reasons that not only is it cheaper and not only does it foster a community feeling again, but it also brings money into our pockets. And finally, the fact that it is open and transparent is extremely important. Everything that these energy communities does has to go through often a board of directors and, of course, the General Assembly, where all of the members come together, including the SMEs and the municipalities, and they each have one vote, of course. So each citizen has a vote, and the municipality has one vote, and each SME also has a vote. The information needs to be shared with all of these shareholders, essentially, of course. So the open and transparent nature of it is also extremely interesting compared to other traditional actors. So what problems do we have in the way, and what are the good things that we can see? Well, like I said, the democratic ownership is definitely one of the most important parts. The fact that profits are reinvested into the community, like I mentioned. The fact that you're pulling from local knowledge is also one of the things that leads people to come back to live and to work wherever this renewable community heating and cooling system is. And we have also observed, actually, that the bankruptcy of these systems is exceedingly rare. As a matter of fact, in many, many cases, they buy the infrastructure from companies that worked on heating and cooling that went bankrupt. So on the one hand, it is sad, of course, if anything goes bankrupt always. That being said, it is a good sign that we have seen very few cases where this happens for systems that are owned by the citizens, because the citizens at the end are not going anywhere, right? And indeed, like I said, from a technical point of view, one of the beauties of these systems is the variety, because you can put many renewable sources into a district heating network, for instance. So we have examples of energy communities that use biomass, that use geothermal energy, that use heat pumps, that use the waste heat energy from industries that are also in the city. So this plays into the circularity as well, very important, right? To make sure that we don't waste any precious energy. And I think we have especially seen that, sadly, in the past year, how important energy has become or is crucial to our lives, right? But that being said, there are, of course, despite the many good things, that there are things that are a little bit in the way for their replication. One of them, as I said before, is the bureaucracy. As citizens and as voluntary organizations at the beginning, the bureaucracy is often complicated. But one way that you can get around this is by involving the municipality, essentially. So once the municipality is involved, they know better how to do all of this paperwork. So in many cases, they help with that. There is also the financing issue, that at the beginning, it is difficult to get financing. And one of the main issues is to build trust within the community, right? People always have a little bit of a doubt when it comes to changing their habits, and this is no exception, right? So many energy communities have the pressure of having to do very well at the beginning so that they can show people that they are trustworthy, and they can show the banks as well that they are a good investment. And ultimately, we also have the issue of a lack of a EU definition, because at the end of the day, today in each member state, we have different community heating and cooling systems that have similarities, all of them, of course, especially the governance. But there's quite a bit to go there, at least to make sure that we all have a baseline to work on. So a couple of results, and I will have to go quickly so that Chris can also present the financing and you can ask questions. But I wanted to show you a couple of cases. One case is in Greece, which I was personally very inspired, not only because, as I said, it is a good example where citizens are the owners of this energy community, evidently, but they also work with enterprises and municipalities and NGOs. So this comes to show that the union creates the strength. So the municipality gives then the energy community the prunings from taking care of the forests, and then they use this to create energy, right? So to create biomass. And what they did in order to create this trust in the community, right? They do several activities that I thought were very sweet, actually. So, for instance, one of them was to show citizens how much waste they actually produce by installing a bin. So they installed a bin in the city, a huge bin, where all of the waste that was created by the citizens was put in there, simply to show, well, look what we could do with all of this waste if this was reinvested, right? They also organized renewable energy festivals. They showed screenings of a Patagonia documentary called We the Power, which explains the concept of energy communities and how they started in Europe. And they even installed a Christmas boiler in the city where the children could put their letters to Santa Claus. So again, very, very cute initiatives that at the end of the day create trust, right? And one of the interesting cases was with a kindergarten, where the kindergarten was very interested by this project. So together with the kids, they gathered used coffee in order to create a new type of biofuel, essentially, out of this coffee waste. And then they took all of this coffee, which was about a ton, and they just gave it to the kindergarten so that they could heat, so that their children could be warm for an entire year. And they still had quite a bit left. So what they did then is give it to the municipality so that the municipality could then ensure that there is heating that is given to the vulnerable. So again, as you can see, there are many things that are very interesting. In Belgium, it's a different case. Equally interesting because it's a big energy community, which once again, it is 100% owned by the citizens, but they work with hundreds of SMEs and municipalities, and they cover 25 companies, 2 hospitals. They are working on a school and a military base, and over 1,000 apartments are connected to this heating network, right? Mind you, this energy community started a long time ago, but they had the same problems as any other community. But look at them today, right? I think they have around 70,000 members. And again, it's very interesting. They first started from electricity projects or renewable electricity projects, and then in 2015 moved on to heating and cooling, which they get from an incinerator that is near there, you know, circularity again. They're looking into using seawater, and they also have geothermal heat pumps. So it's very interesting. And from a financial point of view, this is also interesting. You can see that it does make sense for banks, right? As a matter of fact, the banks trust them. So they have 10 investment lines running at the same time. When they needed financing, you can get at the beginning from banks, either from the government in subsidies or loans, or from the members. So they decided, since the banks trusted them anyway, they decided to get it from the members as well. And within 30 minutes, they got €1 million, right? So this comes to show how much people really trust energy communities. And that being said, how do we get there, right? How do we make this a reality? With financing. And this is when I give the floor to my colleague Chris, so that he can give a more informed view about financing than mine. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Felix. Shall I share my screen, or will you be changing the slides? Yeah, no, just we can skip to the next slide. Then I will be super brief because I understand it's the end of the day, and you know people are already overloaded with useful but a lot of information. So just very quickly, you've probably seen this before, that energy communities generally have a lack of access to finance because they are mostly, let's say, asked by people that are volunteers. They do not necessarily have the financial literacy of building a financing plan, of presenting it to banks and other institutions that will actually trust them to give them a loan. So really, there is a lot of risk when you are building your first projects, and that's where public finance could come in and de-risk the first projects, you know, build up those seed costs and help energy communities make their first steps. So this is why we're doing this project, next slide, Felix, of looking at, we're mapping to what extent 20 EU member states, amongst which also is Bulgaria, are using 3 major EU funds, such as the Recovery and Resilience Fund, Cohesion and Regional Development Funds, and the Modernization Fund, all 3 of which Bulgaria is eligible for. And we're mapping to what extent member states are using these funds to support energy communities through a variety of ways. And as you can see, we're building this color-coded map, which shows from red to green how well countries are doing. And the full tracker, an interactive tool that will be published on the RESCOOP website, will be available on the 10th of May during our big community energy spring gathering in Athens. Already, if this research sounds of interest to you, you can get a quick preview of the work that we've been doing through this briefing. I will send it in the chat once I finish the presentation. And just very, very briefly to tell you a couple of words about our analytical framework. So the colors and what they correspond to. So we marked countries in red. So the countries that haven't included any mentions of energy communities in these public funds and international plans. We color-coded countries in orange when there are mentions of energy communities, but there are not enough operational details, or only a specific set of activities are targeted, or a specific type of actor. So this is where the important link with the work that Felix was mentioning before comes in, is that a lot of member states still think that energy communities can only produce or self-consume energy, let's say from photovoltaics or wind, because these are the most, let's say, known forms of activities. Whereas energy communities have really professionalized, and I think also we saw through the Greek and the Belgian examples that they can do quite amazing and very innovative projects, including community heating and cooling, even housing renovations, electric mobility. So we do call for member states to support all of these activities of energy communities with public funds. Next one. Felix, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then just finally, that we marked the countries in green as those that earmarked a specific budget for energy communities with a target of, let's say, 100 million euros, for example, for energy communities. We see the examples of Spain and in Italy, which not only are dedicating this budget, but are also ensuring that only energy communities with strong social safeguards and criteria are going to be eligible for this money. So to be eligible for public money, you need to include, let's say, energy poor households in the energy community. You need to promote territorial development, reinvest money into your local community, and so on. Next one. Yeah, so just very briefly before I wrap up, to say that currently, and actually Svetoslav from Friends of the Earth Bulgaria has helped us with this research. He can maybe tell you more about it. But we have seen that the Bulgarian Recovery and Resilience Plan, as well as all of the operational programs under the cohesion funding, do not mention energy communities whatsoever. So we really feel like this is a missed opportunity for Bulgaria to utilize public funds to support energy communities. And of course, it is the case that Bulgaria still does not have legislation for energy communities, but we still think that it should promote prosumerism, energy efficiency, community heating and cooling. So these projects are actually put people at the heart of the energy transition. And especially since Bulgaria is planning to use funds from the Modernization Fund to support fossil fuels, we think that this is very important to really highlight to policy makers that no public EU money should go to fossil fuels. Instead, it should only support the active involvement of citizens in the renewable energy transition through energy communities. And I've just highlighted some examples here of, for example, Czechia is using money from the Modernization Fund to promote rooftop installations coupled with energy efficiency renovations. In Spain, they're using the Recovery and Resilience Fund to set up transformation offices all across the country to educate people about how they can join energy communities. And in Greece, money from the Recovery and Resilience Fund is going towards municipalities to set up energy communities and help tackle energy poverty. On the last slide, we're going to keep using this tracker and this research as a form of advocacy with the Commission, with DG Regio, but as well with managing authorities from different member states. We've already had very productive discussions with Czech, Maltese, Polish, Greek, all sorts of Estonian, all sorts of policymakers. So we are also happy to have that conversation with national authorities in Bulgaria, if you guys see fit. And yeah, we're looking forward to the launch of the transposition tracker in Athens. That's it. Thanks a lot. Again, with the burden of the last presentation of the day, I hope it wasn't too tiring, and very happy to be invited here. Again, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Felix. Thanks, Chris. Actually, we've tried to keep these days relatively short, so I hope that nobody is too tired. And it was really nice to see that actually those type of initiatives are mushrooming and more. There's more and more to build upon. But still, I just recall how a couple of years back we were checking the Bulgarian National Energy and Climate Plan, where the energy communities were literally stamped as not applicable. So it is, in some regions, it's particularly difficult, I would say. Couple of questions here. I'm totally supportive of energy communities, but I'll try to play the devil's advocate in this case. Again, providing a comparison with a country like Bulgaria, where we have a super fragmented ownership in, say, multifamily buildings, it's really hard to get people together even though it's in their own interest, to build an energy community and build their own project with all the upfront costs. Even when there are grant money available, it is hard, and I've seen it in projects with actual implementation. There's usually one person in such a group who has the expertise, the motivation, and the drive, but this is very tiring with the time. My question is how to compensate for that. You know, when we see that sometimes even projects can be built, especially when there are support money, and there will be a lot of funds available now, and then a couple of years later they get abandoned specifically because of this fatigue, and people get back to the more expensive options just because they can't figure out ways to maintain in the long term and deal with this deficits.
Should I go, Chris? That's a very good question. That's a very good question indeed. You're putting us against the ropes here. I will say I would answer as a counter question. Yes, it is difficult, but what in life isn't, right? I mean, raising a kid is difficult. Finding a job is difficult. Keeping the lights on in our homes is difficult. But we do it. We do it because we know that at the end it is worth it, right? And I think that energy communities are an example of that. Yes, it is work, right? Like many other things that we have to do, but it is work that pays for itself at the end. And like I mentioned, there are few cases that go bankrupt. And even if you are part of an energy community, there's different degrees of involvement. Of course, like you were mentioning, there are people usually that know a bit more. So somebody knows more about finance, another person maybe knows more about the technical aspects. And then many other people maybe are just investors, people that care about the project. And once a year, they go to the General Assembly, like any other shareholder of a company, right? They go to the General Assembly to vote. So the involvement of the members varies. It can vary from a lot to very little. But the important thing is that everybody's involved. Even if you're not very involved, everybody is, which then means that the project, usually a community heating and cooling project, from the start of it, so from the first time that somebody has an idea until the moment that people start being connected to the grid, so to the district heating network, for instance, the times are between 1 year and 3 years. So I would say to anybody that wants to do it, keep this in mind, right? We have to be realistic that this will not happen from one day to the next. This is a process that, much like raising a kid, right? This is something that we put in work every day, so that one day, hopefully, the next people, right, don't have to worry about it. I don't know if I answered your question, actually.
Well, you actually did, and I'll be a little bit, how to say, ironic here, because sometimes, you know, there are many projects that will be a shiny, bright examples for all of us. Otherwise, other projects will simply be great warnings for everyone that things can as well go wrong. But as you said, you know, there's a measurable benefit at the end of the day if people invest in those projects and if they can set things in the right way. And there's more and more experience actually that can be shared between those projects, so people don't have to reinvent the wheel. My next question, unless Chris wants to add something to this one. Yeah, my next question would be how to provoke community energy initiatives when there's still no seeds planted. You know, I will give an example with some of the coal mining regions around Europe, where people have been really used to mostly one type of employment, one type of, you know, mono-economic activity happening there. And there's still a lack of mentality and a lot of skepticism to basically risk and go into something like this. Do you have any smart ideas how to plant those initial seeds and see them grow in a successful way so that they can multiply?
That's a difficult question indeed. Change is always difficult, right? I mean, I think that even though we are very, very adaptable as humans, it's not easy to change indeed. And if an entire local area's economy is based on one industry, then that is difficult to change, right? I also see quite a bit of risk in this, because what happens if the industry goes bankrupt, or the company decides to leave because they're offering cheaper taxes somewhere else? This doesn't happen with an energy community, right? The citizens are not going anywhere. But yes, how do you convince then people to join this? I'm going to give examples of things that I have heard during these interviews instead of giving my opinion. I think that might be less biased. But some of them have gone the financial way. So they, for instance, invested first in projects that bring you more money at the beginning, such as photovoltaics, right? So electrification. So they created an energy community where they focused on wind energy or, for instance, PV, in order to get the trust from the banks so that they can have the next project, and to show the citizens as well that it's a safe investment, right? And that they know what they are doing. Other people decided to put the focus on the citizens themselves. So like I was explaining, for instance, organizing festivals, organizing city hall meetings, right? Where they just invited the citizens to answer any questions that they might have on the energy community or in the technology, or how this might change the local area. Because these are, of course, worries that everybody has, right? How will this new project change the way that we live? So I think that being transparent is one of the most important ways, and gathering people together, showing them, like they did in Greece, the waste that they produce, for instance, or doing projects that help the community once you already have a little bit of money, right? So reinvesting this money within the community, like I said before, I think these are things that show people that you're trustworthy, right? And that you will not just take the money and say, all right, goodbye. So there are many ways. And one of the good things, I think, of energy communities and of this movement in general is that they help each other out quite a bit. So for instance, through us, right? So Res Co-op, one of our jobs is to make sure that they can talk to each other, so that the ones that are starting now, like in the spring gathering in a couple of weeks and the general assembly that we will have, we get together the energy communities that are starting or that want to start, and we put them together with people that have already been working on it for years, so that they can exchange best practices, right? So that they can see if they have problems in common and how they solve these problems. So again, I think that an open conversation, an honest open conversation and transparency is always the best policy, right?
And I mean, in a way, it's also about seizing the narrative opportunity, right? Like what's happening now with the energy crisis. It's what Felix was saying. We're suddenly realizing in Europe that we are living in the end of cheap, abundant energy the way we used to know it, but we are on the precipice as well of a new, let's say, revolution of cheap, abundant energy, but which is actually homegrown. And then, you have this conversation of like actually geostrategic importance as well. And I think there are already some quite inspiring examples from Bulgaria. I know of Isgray, the work that they're doing together with Greenpeace Bulgaria of trying to set up a guide on how to set up energy communities in Bulgaria. So, it is also looking at these pilots and trying to sit down with them and asking, okay, how did you do it? So, as you said before, to not have to reinvent the wheel all the time.
Thank you. And my final question is related to the upcoming National Energy and Climate Plans revisions. I think that it was more or less boiled down already in your presentation, but do you have literally a ready checklist available for the civil society so that organizations that are interested can follow up and really easily tick the box whether the national energy and climate plans that are coming are actually going well against those benchmarks, or they have a lot of deficits that need to be compensated and addressed during the public hearings?
maybe I can quickly say that as Rescue, we haven't explicitly yet worked on the national climate and energy plans, but there are two things that I would definitely like to see. One is what we're seeing in the Netherlands or in Scotland, where they are setting concrete, quantifiable goals on how much community-owned renewable energy they want to have by 2030. Not just renewable energy, community-owned renewable energy. And also, basically all EU member states have to report on this 2023 revision of the national climate and energy plans on how well they're doing in terms of setting up an enabling framework for energy communities so far, based on the 2018 Clean Energy for All Europeans package of directives. So this is a legal, let's say, obligation towards the European Union that every member state has.
Fantastic, thank you. And indeed, if you have this sort of boiled down in a short text or document or bullets, I think it would be really useful for the civil society to circulate this over. I'm just reminding that the European Commission also for the NECP revisions has the specific guidelines that at the end of them have quite a lengthy checklist so that things can go really in a proper way and integrated way in those plans. Well, I really want to thank you for the participation today. If anyone has any final words or messages that you didn't think through during the previous 2 hours, please go ahead. Now is the time. Otherwise, I'll be closing this event with a few words and greetings. No closing words. Then it's going to be my turn. What can I say? A bit sad to close this conference because we'll have another one only next year. But I hope that we managed to set a few more stepping blocks on the path of heating and cooling decarbonization in Central and Eastern Europe and Southeastern Europe, and that all of you found this event comprehensive and inspiring. I think it was obvious from this event, which was a little bit extra focused on policy and policy revisions and policy ambition, that heating and cooling now has entered a next level on the agenda and in the consideration, and it has really only gained momentum in the previous 1 or 2 years. What we could not tackle, but we intended to do this year, and we want to be honest because we couldn't, we really wanted to hear a lot more of how municipal programs around the region are currently developing, whether they are success stories, what is the cost efficiency, what is the satisfaction by the beneficiaries. We really wanted to hear more about the national heating strategies. I think currently there's one in Estonia, which is considered a very good one. There's a heating strategy that was released by Poland, even though not finalized with the public hearings, I believe, and not very much focused on really sound and accelerated decarbonization. And there's an upcoming one which is still being prepared by the Czech Republic. I think all of the countries in the region need those type of strategies. We'll be looking for the revised European strategy, but obviously this is also going to come only after the round of European elections in next May and when we have a new European Commission set up. I want to ask you for a round of online applause for all the major figures that were involved in the organizations of this year's event. That's Svetoslav Stojkov, who is the major person dealing with the building decarbonization in Za Zemiata. Violeta Kermechieva, who is the communication officer of Za Zemiata. She's been an invisible presence all the time, making this event popular and really boosting the presence in all the media channels. And Ivailo Popov from the Clean Air team, who was the facilitator during the yesterday event and who was also invisibly helping us all the time, gathering your questions online and helping us be sure that we post those from the audience. A few more people behind the scenes. Dimitar Kostakiev from Octoplay. This is the company that has ensured that everything will run seamlessly when it comes to the technical part of this event, and our fantastic interpreters who are dealing with the interpretations between English and Bulgarian. Viktor Donkov and Biljana Hristova. I really wish that the interpretation team will be much more varied from around the countries and the languages that we have in C and SE from next year, but we'll see. We have big ambitions, not always able to implement them, but thank you all for making this event possible and making it better and better with every next year. I'm Gennady Kundarev. I'm Senior Associate with E3G, covering various climate and energy topics in Central and Eastern Europe. And I had the pleasure to partner and co-facilitate during this event with my former colleagues from Za Zemiata.
Thank you, Gennady. It was really inspiring this year. And I'm glad that you were able to join us in this effort again. Yeah, just a couple of final words from me. The recordings that we made during the conference are going to be available on our YouTube channels and on our Facebook channel of Za Zemiata. So you can just return at any time to the presentations. And if you have some additional questions, and don't be just shy to give us our feedback, and we can just share your questions with the presenters, and that's how we can work together, even beyond this event. And if you have some recommendations on how to make this conference better, just drop us a line, let us know, and hopefully we can see each other again next year. And continue the discussions that we're having in the last 6 years. And I really want to thank again Gennady Kundarev, Violeta Keremikjieva, Ivail Popov, our technical support from Octoplay, and again our translators today. So thank you, and this is everything from this year's event.